Hey guys, what's going on? It's Colin here again, back with another part of the Briggs Model H series. I think this is part 3 at this point, but it's been a little while since I last shot since I filmed the last part, so I don't entirely remember, but I want to say this is part 3. But anyways, it's been a little while, as I mentioned, and that's because I went ahead and I bought a new piston for this thing. Because for those of you guys who don't remember, this is the piston that came out of it. I don't think I need to say any more. That is some of the worst scoring on a piston I've ever seen. So I did a little research and I put out a couple pleas for help online, and I got in contact with a very nice guy named Will Woodward, and he's got a crap ton of Briggs parts and Briggs engines and stuff, and he sells parts and whatnot. And he cut me a very good deal on a good used piston. This piston's actually in really good shape, and a brand new set of rings for this Briggs Model H. And I couldn't beat the deal, and I went and I struck a deal with him, and a couple weeks later it arrived here. So there we go, brand new old stock rings and a pretty darn good used piston. So in this part, at the minimum, what I want to do is I want to get the piston reinstalled in this thing. He shipped it with a rod, but something about that rod doesn't look so good to me. Think that fails the fingernail test? So somebody must have put a new piston in the engine that this came out of, because there's no way the rod would be that bad and the piston is this good. But I'm gonna have to go ahead and clean this up a bit. There's a decent amount of carbon in there, and the top could probably use a little bit of cleaning. I think I'm just gonna run a little bit of sandpaper on it, over it, clean it up a bit, put the new rings in. I gotta swap the connecting rods back over, and we'll try and get this piston installed today. And I guess we'll go from there. I'll probably either end up starting to screw around with the carburetor or the valves, but that's what I'm hoping to accomplish tonight. I'm now on my February break from school, so I'll probably be able to get this thing running by the end of the break, I'm hoping. So probably only a couple more parts to this series, if I had to guess, depending on how long this ends up taking me. I'm trying to keep the parts around 25 minutes-ish. Obviously, I'm shooting hours of footage, so we'll see. If I end up shooting a crap ton of footage, which I'll want to keep, there will be more parts, if that makes sense to you guys. But anyways, I'm kind of babbling on already, so what do you say we start diving into these pistons and clean them up? So let's get to it. Alright, so I think what I'm going to do first is I think I'm going to take this wrist pin out here and take the connecting rod off of this piston, because this connecting rod's completely junk. And then once we have the piston free, I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning it up. We'll get the rings installed and put the new connecting rod on. So I'm going to dive right into that. If I can find my pliers, here they are. Go ahead and get these little things out of here that hold the wrist pin in. There we go. There's a name for these, but I can't remember it. So I have to live with that. There's also probably a trick to getting these out that I'm not aware of, because I seem to be having some difficulty with this. There we go. I'm just going to try and punch this wrist pin out of here. That doesn't look too bad, but I think that these wear in the middle, and you'd probably need like a micrometer to actually tell how worn it is. But that doesn't look too bad. Got our piston freed. There are no front and back markings on this. I'm pretty sure Will said that he would mark it for me, which way was which, but I guess we'll have to see. Because these pistons do go in a certain way, and the later ones, like this one, you can see up there, there's an X in there, and that goes towards the magneto side, because as these go in, they kind of wear in. So if you end up putting it in this way, when you reassemble it and start to run it, it could screw stuff up. But this piston doesn't have that, so I gotta figure out which one of these which way this piston goes in the engine. There we go. Now that it's off of there. I'm sure that's not the best way to do that, but it's the only way I could think of at the time of shooting this. This wrist pin, actually, I can feel a noticeable lip on this one. It's definitely worn in the middle, that's for sure. You can actually see it too. There's a ridge right above, right here. I don't know if this camera's going to focus that well. Right there's a noticeable ridge, which this one actually doesn't have, so I think this might be the one we go with. That connecting rod is junk. That feels nice and tight in there, so that's good. Looks like some baked on oil or something on the top of this rod. I don't know if that's really going to come off of there, but I also don't know if it's that big of a deal. Alright, so a little wire brushing later and I got this thing looking a hell of a lot better. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now I just got to make sure that this piston and the connecting rod are in the right orientation. There should be a mark or something on here that indicates which side goes to the magneto. And I'm pretty sure it's that little casting thing there. I'm pretty sure that goes towards the magneto side. So if your flywheel is here, that would be in that orientation. So keep that in mind. This is the better connecting, the wrist pin. So that's going to be the junk one over there. Alright, so I cleaned up this piston a decent amount. Looks much better. So just going to go ahead and do a little bit of carbon scraping out of these, where the rings go here. And I think I'll install the rings and then we'll be good to go from there. But yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and take the screwdriver in here and just do a little scraping, because there's a decent amount of carbon built up in here. But overall, this piston looks pretty good. And I'm not going to go ahead and buy a new old stock piston for an engine like this. The bore is a little worn. It's not worth it to me. I don't like spending that much on these engines. Obviously, if you get something like this, then I'm not going to run that. I'm not that cheap. Not that stupid either. But I don't really mind if engines burn a little oil. It's also part of the reason I don't generally restore engines that much. A, I kind of like the patina. B, I'm lazy and I don't have a lot of time. Restoring an engine takes a lot of effort and a lot of time, which I just don't have that luxury right now. And then you have to worry about scratching paint. And C, it can get expensive if you really mechanically restore it and do new rings and, make sure everything's absolutely perfect. Alright, so piston's all nice and cleaned out the ring lances. I think that's what those are called. I'm having a bit of a brain fart right now though, if you can't tell. And I'm going with, that's the magneto side with those very light scratches in there. I'm gonna go with that being his marking. So, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that I get these all in the right direction here. I think I'm gonna go ahead and install the wrist pin here, or throw it across the bench and onto the floor. Just hope these go in a little easier than they came out. They were kind of a pain to get out, as you probably saw. I'm not entirely sure why though. I was probably doing something wrong, but I guess we shall see. There we go. That one went in easily. Well, relatively easily. Oh, that one I got first try. That's not bad at all. Cool. Guess we'll put the rings on next. Have the instructions from the original Briggs box, I believe, here. So that's pretty cool. Tells you which way they go, because these do have like a bevel and a recess on them. Let's see if I can show you guys. camera probably will not focus on that whatsoever. Right here, there is a slight bevel. And on the second one, it's on the outside, there's like a lip right here. There you go, you can see that. So if you look at these directions here, the bevel goes up and that's the top ring, and that recess or that little lip points down and that's the second ring. And obviously the oil ring is the oil ring. I'm just going to be really careful with these that I don't break them or snap them, seeing as though that they're really old rings. If I snap them, I will not be very happy. So far so good. Try and keep that streak up. There we go. Alright, the rings are in. Just want to make sure these gaps aren't lined up in any way. I generally put the two compression rings on complete opposites and this one in the middle. And I just want to get some oil on this. I'll get plenty of oil in there. Get it in the wrist pin too, because we did that. You want to make sure these things are nice and oily before you go and reassemble them. And go ahead and get some oil in the cylinder here. A little more oil in the piston. You guys should be noticing a theme now. When it comes to reassembling engines, you want plenty of oil. Got this lined up the right way. I also do not have a valve, I keep calling them valves, a ring compressor, but again on these little engines it's really not so bad to do by just squishing them in with your fingers. You could be careful you don't pinch yourself when it finally sits down. Ow! Like that. That's what you want to avoid doing. Sometimes it can be more difficult with new rings because they're not as worn out and you have to squish them more. Well, one of them cracked. There's the piece that cracked off of it. Why did I see this coming? Damn it. So that means I'm gonna have to use one of the originals, which thank God they're still semi-decent. These are both originals I have are identical. I think I'm just gonna take a look and see which which one is less worn. I'm gonna throw that back in, but that's really irritating. I really don't get what the issue was with that one. I've never had so much trouble getting a ring in before. It's kind of strange to me. But yeah, it's just interesting that the originals are both like completely square and flat, and yet the new ones have those like bevels and edges and stuff to them. Ow. I just caught my knee on one of my toolboxes. Oh, I don't know, these both look pretty darn good. I'm going with this one. But yep, that's just really annoying. This is where having the right tools for the job is nice and comes into play, because if I had an actual ring compressor, there's a good chance that wouldn't have happened, because I was going around there with my fingers and stuff trying to get that in, and it just, guess I caught it at a weird edge or something. I don't exactly know how I did it, but no, I forget which one of these I said. They were pretty close anyways. I think it was this one. But yep, that's annoying. But this stuff happens occasionally. You don't want to be in a rush when you're working on these engines, because you rush, then you do stuff wrong, and then you break stuff. Persuasion here. Of course, I can't get on the side I want to because the camera is there. See, they should just do that. They shouldn't put up such a freaking fight, but that one didn't want to cooperate. See, that one went right in, so I'm not entirely sure. I really don't know what the deal was there, but there we go. See, that took all of like a minute. I was screwing with that thing off camera for a while before that thing broke. So something was weird there, but anyways, that other ring really wasn't bad, so I'm lucky. But had I had bad rings, that would have been a really bad day. This also only goes on one way. So I showed you that mark before on the other one. Well, that mark goes on the same side, which I think is the magneto side. And there were little brass spacers that went in there too. Alright, got the two brass spacers. I just got to grab the little bolts that go through here. Got some fresh lock washers, because those other ones are rather sad looking. Go ahead and spin these up, and then I got to look up the correct torque spec. There is a torque spec for these. Alright, got my torque spec. Fortunately, my torque wrench here isn't quite that precise, so... Whoa! Careful there. I have to just kind of estimate. I don't think would be that much of an issue here. As long as the engine doesn't keep turning on me. I think that is good. Alright guys, so I just went ahead and put some of these parts through the ultrasonic cleaner to help clean them up. But before I get to that, I kind of want to just clean up this base plate here and get that reinstalled so I can let the gasket sealer sit overnight. Also because we're done on the inside of the engine at least. So I want to get that sealed back up so that there's less parts and pieces lying around here, because as you can probably tell, there's quite a collection over here. And if there's any time after that, I think I'm going to do a little carburetor work. But I'm going to go ahead and just try and clean this up best I can and get this reinstalled. That is some really goopy crap. I'm going to grab my, my little razor blade for that. Definitely glad I pulled this engine apart. I feel like each engine I get more and more glad that I do that. That's why I highly recommend it to all you guys, because you never know what you're going to find on the inside. I could very easily just put oil in this thing and ran it, but that piston would have probably caused some damage, and the sludge that was in here probably would never have gotten cleaned out. And with enough running would have caused some damage too, probably. This garage I'm working in is not heated, that's why I'm bundled up in this winter coat. Alright, that looks pretty good. Where's the gasket? There's the gasket. When your bench is a mess like this with parts and pieces everywhere, it's easy to lose stuff. I just want to go ahead and wipe this down because it is kind of crappy looking and dirty, and I want to put some gasket sealer on here, so I want to make sure that actually sticks. This is some messy stuff. You can tell when the jar looks like that it's messy. Problem is that the brush stays in the stuff all the time, so you pull the brush out and there's a crazy amount on the brush, which you don't need that much. So I try and wipe it all off, and then I apply a coat, and then I'll go back for more when I need it. But this gasket sealer stuff works pretty darn well. Go ahead and set the gasket on there. I think I'm just going to paint the plate here rather than try and do it on the gasket. If you do it on the, you can do the gasket itself, but it gets messy. So just going to coat the plate here. Go around the perimeter. A little definitely goes a long way with this stuff too, that's for sure. Alright, that looks good. Go ahead and set this plate up on here now. Well guys, I just realized that the camera died in the middle of recording that. So sorry about that, I'm not entirely sure when it stopped recording. But basically what I did was I took the base plate and I scraped a bunch of the goop off, and I took the original gasket, cleaned it up a little bit, put some gasket sealer on there, and put the plate on. So you didn't really miss anything that exciting, but still kind of annoying. But I guess I'll learn when I go to edit this video how much I just repeated myself. But plate's good. Not going to go ahead and fill it up with oil just yet because I just put the fresh gasket sealer on it, so I want to give that a little time to set up. But I think I'm going to go ahead and work on this carburetor a little bit right now. So this is our carburetor. It's an interesting little sucker. It's very simple, but kind of intriguing at the same time because I've never worked on one quite like this before. But we do have to make some new gaskets. That's your choke plate that goes on later. This is the main carburetor body. And here's the needle valve for it, which I'm going to go ahead and put back in before it gets bent. I went ahead and put all these things through chem dip, so hopefully that cleaned everything out pretty good. I did blow it out with some compressed air too. But like I said, I just need to make these new gaskets for it. And then I think what I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna coat the float with some sort of, see, we just have a cork float here. It's actually really simple and it's kind of ingenious. This float floats up and it's basically like a nail in there, and that's just what seals it. There's no actual real needle, it's like part of the float. The problem is ethanol in modern gas really doesn't number on the cork that these are made of. I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is I think I'm going to seal this up with some sort of, I might even try the gasket sealer I just used. I don't want it to go on too thick though, is the only thing. But I think that's what I'm going to try. If not, I might try and see if I can get my hands on some like gas tank sealer or something. I'm going to try the gasket sealer I have first. But I'm also going to see if I can get a little bit of sealer on this gasket, because this gasket looks a little sad. I gotta be really careful though not to get it in here at all. But I'm gonna grab the gasket sealer and we're gonna give this a shot. I don't know. Just try and put a very thin coat on here. Thin coats are hard with this brush though, is the only thing. Oh, look at all that cheese. Uh-oh. This isn't exactly going to plan as of now. Damn it. I kind of thought that might happen. There's still way too much on this brush. There we go. Well, I don't know about the thin coat part of that plan, but so far it seems alright. Go ahead and meet these two things up here. Put one of the screws through. Oh, that's what I was trying to avoid. Trying to put these through so the gasket doesn't move, and of course I hit the gasket and it moves. There we go. My only fear is that if I tighten down on this, it's going to squish that gasket sealer in where it shouldn't go. But I guess we'll find out. Alright, so that's together. We're going to attempt, hopefully this will work out better than the last one. I want to coat this in gasket sealer. Help protect it against the ethanol, but I also don't want it to be super thick where this float starts binding up. So we're going to try and give this a really thin coat. Oh, there we go. Hopefully this works the way I want it to. But I need to find a spot to put this. I think I'm going to put it, I'm going to wipe the needle off. I think I'm just going to put it in the seat here. Let that hold it. We'll see what happens. A worst case scenario, I mean, in all honesty, worst case scenario, even if that completely ruins it, A, it was worth it for the learning experience, and B, that is going to be such an easy part to make. I'll just take a piece of cork and I'll drive a nail through it, honestly. I mean, this is not a very complex part by any means. So, just go ahead and sit that up there. And I think that's going to call it a night for me tonight, because it's about 10 o'clock at night now. And I'm getting pretty tired. So, alright guys, so this video is actually getting a bit long in the tooth here. So I think I'm just going to end it here. We got a pretty decent amount of work done today. And I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm thinking maybe only a couple more parts. As long as we don't run into issues, there should only be a couple more parts and we should have this thing buttoned back up and running again. But anyways, as I always say, thank you all for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you like what you see, I also appreciate if you hit the little like and subscribe buttons. And by all means, leave a comment if you have one. I really do like talking to you guys down there. So until the next one, I'll see ya. Bye.